We are live. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the StingersUp podcast. I am your host, Christopher Raymond. You can just call me Chris if you'd like to. And with me for this awesome first broadcast, the first edition, if you will, is my good friend, Austin French. Austin, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Thank you for joining me. I'm glad we could get you on here. I know it's pretty crazy times with the working at home, and like I mentioned before you started up, it's been interesting, kind of balancing the classes and getting the whole virtual experience up and running.
Yeah.
How you been enjoying your classes? What classes are you taking this
So
semester?
I'm doing all pretty much kinesiology classes. So three kinesiology classes and then one child development class. Um,
Gotcha.
so they're chill so far. The reason I say so far because usually with kines the classes kind of kick on like the fourth week. I already have like a presentation and a exam next week. So I'm like,
Oh
oh
wow.
my gosh, here we go. But so far so good, Chris. How
Nice.
about your classes?
Mine are going pretty good. I'm admittedly I'm in the home stretch as far as my degree goes, so I'm down to about 4 classes or so. So admittedly this semester I am part-time as far as my classes. That being said, they are labs and they are keeping me quite busy.
Mm.
Um, I know I was working on some homework earlier and I was kind of like, oh my God, I need far more coffee than I have right now. So I got a pot brew and I'll probably be working on that later on. But overall, I feel like I'm working into the transition pretty well. You know what I mean? One of them is actually in person. And so
Oh,
that's been interesting going on to campus. I was going to ask you, are any of your classes in person or are they all virtual?
they're not, but I had one, I want to say 2 weeks before class started. It showed it was in person, but like they just changed it
Gotcha.
to being online. I didn't know there's any classes in person. Is it just for a lab for chemistry?
Yeah, no. So it is the sort of like an advanced biochemistry lab. I think that's the
Oh,
title for it. Sort of like a down low, like a senior level type course, but it is a lab. And
oh,
so it's interesting really going on to campus, especially since one, it's in the evening. So you're
mm,
going on and it's like sort of this dusky feeling. The whole campus is empty. Parking is great. So shout out to anybody who's having to go on campus right now. I'm sure you're loving the good parking, but that's
are
probably
you?
the
Do you have to pay for parking?
so yes, parking you still do have to pay for it. In fact,
Okay.
I did see the ticket guy going around. I'm sure there's a more official name, but I saw him going around. Yeah, no, going around and giving tickets out. So you definitely still have to pay for parking. That
Okay.
being said, my class is only once a week, so I kind of just do the daily just to
Mhm.
save the money.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but yeah, you do still have to pay for parking.
Is it now? If I'm correct, is it $7 for daily?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
was figuring, like $7 over about 16 weeks or so,
Mhm.
versus the like 180 for the full semester pass. I just, kind
Yeah.
of opted to save the money myself.
Gotcha. When do you graduate?
So if everything goes well, if all these classes go pretty good, I should be graduating after or in the spring. So
Okay.
I
I'm
have about
assuming.
one more semester after this. Yeah. So I'm,
Nice.
I'm feeling pretty excited.
Nice.
Yeah, I have my fingers crossed that it will somehow be in some sort of an in-person format.
Same.
But either way, I'm still feeling pretty darn excited to be reaching like the end of the line here, and kind of moving on to the next step.
Nice. Cool.
So, Austin, I guess a little bit of a background if you want to share, just kind of um, I don't know, maybe like your hometown. I know we both are from Sacramento State, but not everyone necessarily is born and raised in
Oh,
Sacramento.
Fresno.
There we go. There we go.
I'm kidding.
Um,
Okay.
so if you want to go over just, I don't know, just kind of a little background, maybe like your major and any plans after graduation, if you should have any.
Yeah, awesome. Um, I'm a transfer student, and I'm pretty sure you are too, correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
So yeah, I transferred to Sac State 2 years ago. So fall of 18 from Folsom Lake
Nice.
College.
Okay.
I did 3 years at Folsom Lake College, um, and it was good. It was a good experience. At first, I was very negative towards it because I looked at it
Hmm.
as, oh, my friends are like at a university, at a CSU already. Why am I at a
Okay.
junior college? But it was a great experience, and it actually prepared me very well for Sac State.
Nice.
And I actually got my first job being at Folsom Lake, being a peer mentor. So
Cool.
that was very, very good experience.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then since being at Sac State, it's been a great experience. I've loved it ever since. Can't believe it's my last year already. It's crazy. But and then I've also worked, obviously, orientation with you.
Mhm.
And then I've worked peer mentor. I did that last fall. And then now I'm doing SSA again, so on campus. Well,
Nice.
I say on campus, but really it's online through Zoom. Um, but it's been good. My major is kinesiology, exercise science. When I received my degree, and you know this too, it's going to say exercise science, not kinesiology, because they're going to be split. So it's very confusing. But I was doing counseling as a minor, but now I'm just kind of finishing off kines, focusing on that.
Okay.
As far as afterwards, I'm trying to get my master's in counseling, maybe at Sac State,
Cool.
or some other schools. I'm kind of doing some research now. Is like the time to research. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing lately with
Nice.
that, and keeping on task with like my classes in the third week. I live in Folsom currently.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good for what I've mentioned.
Yeah. So you said that. So what about Folsom Lake did you feel prepared you for kind of moving out to Sac State or moving on to Sac State? Because I agree as well. Kind of like that community college experience. I mean, granted, I don't have like the alternate experience of me starting off as a 4-year, but kind of what about that do you feel kind of help prep you for the Sac State experience?
I think Chris, I think that's a great question. I would say two things. I'd say time management, and I'd say study. I didn't know how to study in high school. Like, I really didn't. I kind of would just like procrastinate in high school and just be like, okay, let me skim through this. Let's see how this goes. It did not
I know
turn
the
out
feeling.
well. Yeah. But like being at Folsom Lake, I was in an FYE group that's at Sac State at Folsom Lake. So as a student, like my first year at college there. So I actually kind of learned how to study, like, let's say for chemistry. As you know, chemistry is a lot of material.
Yeah.
Remember, and anatomy too. So I kind of learned how to do that. So when I took my major courses at Sac State, it's not as bad to study. It's like, okay, this might be challenging, but I know how to prepare for it for each exam. And I didn't know how to do that in high school. I really didn't. So I would say that was really, really crucial for me and beneficial. So
nice. Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with you on that. My high school academic record was less than stellar, I think is a good PC way to put it. But yeah, no, I was really bad about my studying techniques as well. You know, I was kind of really into doing what most teenagers probably want to do, just hang out, play video games. I wasn't really thinking about necessarily what my career, what I want to do academically, you know, which is on me. But yeah, no, I feel like going to that community college and excuse me, and my community college that I transferred from was American River College. So I guess quickly a little bit about me. I know we're kind of throwing in these intros all the way through. Is I'm from Sacramento, and yeah, I transferred from the American River College. So same community college district. In fact, I did take a class out at FLC. But yeah, no, I do feel like it helped prep me a lot for just that time management, that sort of the academic discipline of being a student and going, okay, it's time to study, it's time to get that homework done. And quite honestly, I feel like some of the chemistry professors were pretty tough and brutal, if I may. And so I feel like it was kind of a just really, they put the rigors through you and got you ready.
100%. Yeah. And I think the cool thing is with obviously both coming from a community college based background, the one thing that kind of threw me off was I was expecting like everybody to be like the same age as me when I first started at junior college. And that was like an eye opener for me. It was like, oh no, these people are like, you know, like 40s, 50s.
Yeah, you get a whole mix in there.
Yeah. But I also think it's cool because you're meeting, that's like the real world. Like you're working with people that were very different than you. So I thought that was great to kind of experience that. So
yeah, no, and I can agree with that. I know that was probably one of the weirdest things, probably not weirdest, but just more visible changes when I shifted over to Sacramento State. It was like everyone kind of became in a more defined age group, which isn't a bad thing at all. But yeah, just like you mentioned, you're like, oh yeah, I did get a lot more, there's just a wider diversity of ages that you saw at the community college. So yeah, you got to meet some folks who like, I know I had a buddy who would tell me all these like crazy war stories from like the 90s, and you're like, whoa, that's pretty rad. Like I was born in the 90s. But yeah. So nice. So what are your thoughts on the spring semester going virtual? I know that's kind of a big talk around the fire, if you will, with
So
the recent announcement.
so I didn't believe it at first because I was watching a lecture through a pre-recorded lecture for a Kines
Mm-hmm.
class. One of my friends texted me, he goes, Austin, I have bad news for you. I was like, what? He goes, spring semester is online. I'm like, uh-oh. So I checked President Nelson's email and was like, oh my gosh. I was pretty mad, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Um, I was so mad, but I understand. I totally understand it now. Um, but I totally, at this point, Chris, I'm like, you know what? President Nelson is looking out for safety, and that's so important.
Definitely.
So I think you
Definitely.
have to look at it in that perspective. Obviously, you and I are very much people person. So this Zoom thing has
People.
kind of been like for me,
Yeah.
but um, I totally understand it. I just worry about the first year students. I really worry about them because I hope they're. Chris, I don't know about you, but when I was in orientation, they would ask me,
Mhm.
"Is spring gonna be in person?" I was like, "I do not know. I really hope so."
Yeah, it was a very hot question, understandably so, because I know even as
Yeah.
orientation leaders, we didn't 100% know ourselves. We knew that it was on the table.
Mhm.
Just like a lot of things in I guess our society right now is like, okay, we're really hoping we can reopen this and get it back to that sort of some more of an in-person status. But it was still disheartening to see that email, and being that we're only 2 or 3 weeks into the fall semester, it's like, oh man. And yeah, just like you said, I definitely thrive off of being around other folks. I know something I've been struggling with even this semester is kind of the keeping that motivation that I realize a lot of my motivation came from being on campus and being around classmates and getting to talk with my professors. So yeah, I do agree as far
Yeah.
as like worrying about the folks just coming into college, and it's like, is it going to have that same appeal that it had for us even on in our first semesters or even
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, and Chris, like for me, it's like I wasn't expecting it to be like, Monday through Friday, like 8 to 5 open. But
Yeah,
I was like hoping at least maybe like if you did 2 days a week or
just
something.
like a little bit more,
Just
a
a
little
little
bit
bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
more. Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe like every hour or so is like closed off or something. Maybe
Hmm.
during certain hours you're not supposed to be on here, but maybe you can be back later or something like that.
Maybe some like outdoor courses or something
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on that one, especially being on campus. Just the little bit I am this semester, like I said, it's pretty. It's a Monday class, so I had lab on the first day of the semester,
Okay.
and which wasn't bad as far as like the schedule goes, but it's the first day of the semester, which is usually a bustling time on
Oh yeah.
campus. There's just
So fun.
crowds going,
So fun.
and yeah, no, and there was nothing there. There was like the couple of handful of students who also had classes. Everyone has a mask on, they're doing social distancing,
Mhm.
but it felt like how did I describe it? It felt like I was there like on a Saturday, like during a normal semester of like it feels like you aren't supposed to be there, or
Yeah.
like, hmm.
Can I ask you a question about that? So what is it like sitting in a class like that with mask on? Is it like very weird?
So, like I mentioned, this is a lab. So, like, admittedly, the lab itself already has like a pretty small capacity of, I think it's like 12 people.
Okay.
So like it's not too like so it's not exactly sitting in desks and stuff. So we already, just due to lab safety, you're working with chemicals and glassware and stuff, kind of have like a little radius going on. But to answer your question, it is pretty weird.
Okay.
Like it's it's weird, but at the same time, like you don't notice it as much, I guess, until you start putting on your goggles and they start fogging up, because essentially,
Yeah.
you got something covering your mouth and it's pushing your breath up into your goggles. Um, but it was weird at first,
Hmm.
but then, and maybe because we're in a lab and we're like working on stuff, and for the most part we're not heavily talking, talk to here and there, hey, can you pass that?
Yeah.
um but for the most part you're kind of just doing your own thing, so I guess we don't notice it as much. But I know on that first day it was pretty weird, going on campus, and like I mentioned, everyone was doing good and wearing a mask.
That's good.
But yeah, it was really weird. You see all the signs on the elevators and the bathrooms, like occupancy of 2, or everyone make sure you keep your 6 feet apart,
Yeah.
all the proper things. But it was just a total different atmosphere,
It was
of
in, is it in Sequoia or in the science complex?
It's in Sequoia. It's in the 5th floor. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's all the way up there, which is a fun little hike with the mask on, because I always try to avoid the elevator, so I do like the
Yeah.
five flights, and you're like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something to get used to. Like, I don't think I notice it as much when I'm in class, but when I get out of class, back to the car, back home, and like I always feel like a jet pilot, like in Top Gun, like in the movies, and
Yeah.
you see them like dramatically pull their mask off, and you get like this like a sweaty feeling on your
Oh,
face.
yeah.
So it's stuff to get used to. You know what I mean? It's an extra level of just being wrapped up, but it's not too bad. It definitely doesn't have that same social feel. I'll tell you that.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. Now, are your labs, because I've taken intro to organic chem at Sac State.
Mhm.
Now, do you get to work with people, or are they like, no, stay working by yourself?
That's actually a good question.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, no, we do have lab partners. Give me quote unquote. It's just I'm just dehydrated, folks. Just dehydrated cough. But quote unquote, we have lab partners, and so how it is you. I mean, like I mentioned, there's about 12 folks in the room, and everyone's kind of working in their own little area. And your lab partner is actually going to show up on a different lab day. So my lab partner, I'm actually never going to see or work in person with, because it'd be really hard to do the social distancing if you have to work
Yeah.
side by side with somebody. So we do have lab partners, but to answer your question, we aren't really working with anybody, and unless you go up and like need to quickly ask a question. But it's very emphasized to like avoid that breaking that 6-foot rule, like unless you really have to due to some sort of safety reason or whatnot.
Mhm.
Like someone's
Wow.
chemicals are about to fall over.
Yeah.
But no, for the most part, it's like, hey, like, and it's a lab, so the teacher comes in and does like her little spiel,
Mhm.
explains what we're going to be doing, and then kind of lets us go off to it. And yeah, for the most part, you're just kind of like on your own in this sort of like, I don't know, I feel like I'm in like a hazmat suit now, because you already have like the lab coat, the gloves, the goggles, and now you have the mask on, and you kind of just, I don't know, kind of zone out. I mean, you're focused, but it's very solitary. Not
Gotcha.
not lonely. You still got folks in the room, but you're kind of just zoning in, just working on your own stuff,
Got,
zeroing in. Yeah.
gotcha. Interesting.
And it is kind of weird having a lab partner who, thankfully, it's somebody I know and have actually worked with in a lab before.
Oh, cool.
So I have, I guess, that benefit. I was gonna say advantage, yeah, an advantage if you want to call
Hmm.
it. Where we already know how to communicate with each other, but it is pretty weird being like, hey, so like, essentially just texting and being like, so here's what I did in lab yesterday.
Yeah.
Here's some stuff to know. And you're sharing the same lockers. So you're like, oh yeah, so I put it in this locker.
Gotcha.
It's a very strange experience.
I bet.
Yeah.
So this came up for me yesterday for Kines. So I don't know if this is like you for your classes, but one of my professors just announced that we're not required to have a webcam on for exams. I don't know
Hmm.
if that's the case for you, but none of my classes now require webcam. So I'm like, okay, this is great for exams, but
Yeah, I actually don't, probably have to double check this. So I don't think I actually have exams for mine just because they're labs.
oh, okay.
Like I think I have a couple quizzes. No, actually we don't have those. I think my two professors this semester, kind of rhymed there, actually opted to have no testing things. But I can understand that. I know last semester there was a bit of an uproar, I guess, if you will,
Yeah.
about the God, what's that program called? It's like the one where like lockdown.
Oh, the Proctor?
Proctor. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't use this. Like I always forget the name. But yeah, I know a lot of folks are really uncomfortable with that. Like the Proctor, and I think it was like Lockdown Browser, like
I
all
had
of
to use
those.
that for a quiz last week.
Yeah. How did you feel using that?
So it actually, for my friend, it worked fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big deal for my friends. It like logged them out like every time.
Oh.
So it was bad on their end. For me, it was fine. It's just
Mm-hmm.
weird because you have to download it,
Yeah.
and then on my MacBook, like I'm looking at it right now on the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like an app. So you have to go to the app, type in your My Sac State, and then it just pulls up like one tab. So the one tab being the quiz, like on Canvas. So
Gotcha.
what it doesn't allow you to do, you can't put in
Like
a new tab.
Switch.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
do that. So I might make sense. I get it. So
Gotcha. No, and I've taken quizzes like that before where it pretty much did the same thing. Like made it one giant tab or window or whatnot, and like, you couldn't like alt tab to the browser or check out the cheat sheet. I mean, granted, if you had it on your desk, no one knew,
Yeah.
but I'm not advising anyone to do that. But yeah, no, kind of like locked you out. But then again, that was before there was like a lot of webcams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I know, as far as I understand it, like kind of like puts you on webcam and like records you. So like if I were doing it right now, it would like be watching me, and anytime if I were to like look away from the screen, I think it kind of like marks it.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can understand a lot of folks were like really uncomfortable about it sort of like monitoring your movements to that degree and that level.
And I have a story about that, Chris. When I took an
Hmm.
intro to bio course at ARC, Bio
Okay,
300,
gotcha.
and it was all online. So my final, this was weird. So I used
Hmm.
that Proctor system.
Hmm.
What you have to do is you have to show your ID, like you scan it on the
Oh,
camera.
really?
Yeah, so they actually know it's you. So you do that, and then you type in your info. I forget what it was. It's been a few years, but
Yeah, you kind of put in some login, your
yeah. So
creds.
then
Yeah.
what you do is you take the exam, but I'm like this. Like I'm not moving.
Yeah, front and center, because I can understand, like, because I worked as a tutor previously, and so I had a lot of students in the past year or so who would be dealing with this program for like whatever course or whatnot, and they were really nervous about it. When
Yeah.
I'd be getting them ready, and they're like, "Look, I don't," and so I'd be the same way, where you're like, "Okay, no one talk to me. Like, I'm gonna hide my phone in a safe in a lake,
Yeah. Like,
like." So, don't, that way I don't accidentally look at it, because we all kind of like, what time is it or whatnot.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I know that would make me nervous, and a lot of folks talking about it even afterwards are like, yeah, I was freaking out the whole time. I don't think I did as well because I was so nervous about the webcam.
Yeah. It's a way different anxiety that's like unnecessary, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Just because I like, my argument would be the scrutiny that you get even in an in-person exam isn't to that degree. Not that I take advantage of that to the public,
Yeah.
but if you're in a room with 30 folks, and if you've ever stood in the front of the room, you're like, if I had to watch every seat here, I'm only one person. Um, so I feel like it's a way too much scrutiny, way too much pressure.
Mhm.
And and you're at home, I feel like there's no need to really record you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
um I'm more of the school of like, hey, just make the test harder, so that way they just, because all my professors last semester, they just said, hey, we don't have time in our day to go through and make sure you're not cheating, so we're just gonna make an open note, have
Yeah.
at it.
I had that too. I had it too where my professor made it all written, 75 minutes, 10 questions written. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, actually, I had one. I think it was like a midterm, right when everything switched over. That was
Mhm.
kind of like that. He was like, "All right, I'm gonna post it at like 5 p.m. Is already a night course, and you have to turn it in back to me on Canvas by
Yeah.
7 p.m." So you're like, okay, like, yeah, like I felt it was like the old school SATs. Like I felt like I had like my pens,
Oh my
everything's
gosh.
there, like, because it's not like, oh, do it in the next 24 hours. It's like I have to do it in this 2 hours,
Yeah, exactly.
and and I was squeezing for minutes at 7 p.m. I think he actually extended it to 7:30, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god. But yeah, testing has been pretty. I think that's probably the craziest thing with the whole online, is just how all the professors and everyone has
Mhm.
been treating the exams, because there's folks who are mind like, I don't really care, just get it done.
Yeah.
Um,
Literally
yeah.
that.
So yours this semester. So you said they're not requiring the webcam. That was
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
So
So that means it's going to be kind of like what you mentioned, where it's just going to like lock down your screen or whatnot. Like they're not going to
so
be like
that's
monitoring you, or.
so I had a quiz last week
Mm-hmm.
and we used that locked it was Respondus. There you go. Respondus was what it's called.
Yeah.
I had to do it for a
Now we have to
quiz. It was
pay
like
them.
a yeah. So 10 question quiz in like 15 minutes. Um, and at first I was like, I've never heard of this before. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I guess I have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
For exams, I'm assuming for one of my Kines classes, I'm going to be using it, but my other ones, I don't think so. At least I'm pretty sure. At least I'm pretty sure it's just that one class. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is a pretty weird system. How do you feel it's been kind of like, have you missed any lectures? Um, I know I myself, especially in the morning ones, you wake up and you're like, I don't think I've missed them, but I've gotten real close to missing them.
So surprisingly, no, but I don't start my classes till 12.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So I have
So
time.
you'd have to be partying pretty hard to miss those classes. Yeah.
So I'm taking 4 classes. 2 of them, the
Mhm.
lectures are pre-recorded. The other 2, it's classes like 12 to 1:15 and then 4 to 5:15. So
Gotcha.
it's
Oh,
not
that's nice.
bad.
It's pretty bite-sized. Yeah.
But I actually would prefer the morning because I like getting stuff done over with, so then I have the rest of the day. I don't like
Yeah.
waiting for the end of the day to take a class. So,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
with you
has
on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, my in-person lab is actually Monday evenings.
Oh, at what time?
So it's God, I just went yesterday. I think I remember it. Yeah, 5:30 to like, I think it's like 8:30 on paper, but it's a lab, so sometimes you get out a little early.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think last night I got out at like probably like 7:45 ish.
It's not bad.
But yeah, no, it's not too bad. And downside is there's still traffic, even though the parking on Sac State's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not too bad
Mhm.
going in for that. But oh my god, I like lost my whole train of thought on that one. Started thinking about traffic and parking like that.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, so like the whole night one, that's what it was. So it is pretty interesting because I know normally like that wouldn't bother me. I would just have some other class in the morning. I'd
Yeah.
get there, but now it's like, okay, well I guess I'll wait. When do I go into campus? Because it's not like the union's open or normally you're like, oh yeah, I'll go hang out at Starbucks or text some classmates. I'm sure someone's got a break right now.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Valoy is around campus. I should hit him up more. But
Nice.
so fun fact for the audience, Austin and I, as we mentioned, were orientation leaders. I realize probably have not mentioned that. Yeah, Stingers Up, here we go. For the audience listening at home. Or on your mobile device. But yeah, no, my other class is at 9 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and it's another lab. And that one is like 3 hours on paper. Thankfully, we don't usually go 3 hours. It's usually about 2 hours.
Mhm.
And it is what it is. It's pretty technical stuff, so it'd be hard to make that really bite-sized and digestible. But I know from the student perspective, it gets pretty rough. Like some mornings you're still kind of waking up. Like I don't have that same routine of driving out to campus. Like
Yeah.
like grab your coffee and you're like, all right, let's go to class. And
Yeah.
I know myself, like an hour in, I'm just kind of like, all right, let's I feel like I
Yeah.
start melting in my seat.
Mhm. I feel that.
As far as webcams, kind of like what we're talking about, that how's your experience been like with other students turning on their webcams? Because I know like starting off with the semester, like coming from orientation and all that, I was like, dude, I'm gonna have my webcam on. Like I pretty much had the same setup. I don't think I had my backdrops up, but I was like, let's do this, and I was the only person in the class with the webcam on, and I was like,
Yeah, so I actually am one of the few that keeps mine on because I know that feeling, Chris, of like what we did.
yeah,
So I'm like, you know what? But one of my classes, we actually are required to have it on anyways.
gotcha.
My other one, I don't have it on I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But the one I do have it on is like pretty much I'm required, but I actually like it. That's a class I actually enjoy so far.
Nice.
The other one, it's like, okay, this is like sports nutrition. I already know a lot of this. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I know there's like some students that will still like not have it on and stuff. What's interesting is I have a presentation through Zoom in one of those classes, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I know how to present through Zoom.
Yeah, you're like, I got this.
Yeah, it's
I've
just
seen
knowing.
Zoom before.
Yeah, it's just knowing the material I'm gonna be
Yeah.
presenting. So
Yeah.
that part's not too bad. But as far as like the camera goes, it's not for me. It's like this is a piece of cake. It's just like from orientation. It's not bad at all. I do notice though that like students will not speak up though, like my classmates. But I also feel like if we were in an in-class setting, they would speak up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I don't mean to like hold it against them or be like bad talking classmates. But no, I've noticed that too. And it's, if anything, it's more like, oh man, I really wish I could talk to my classmates more, or
Yeah.
it's that same view of like, man, I wish I could see their faces. I mean, admittedly, it's a lot of like chemistry majors. So I'm like, oh, hey, it's so and so and so and so. But so I guess I already know what they look like, and I can guess what they look like in front of a computer. But But yeah, no, I always feel like I'm the only one kind of with the camera, which I get it. It's especially in the morning if you're in your room. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I wish I could like see more folks and get more of that interaction. Do your professors try to facilitate a lot of we don't have to name any professors. Um, do you get a lot of facilitated interaction between the other students?
So one of my classes,
Uh-huh.
my major advisor is my professor. So she's
Oh,
great.
nice.
I love my major advisor. But what she did, Chris, was really cool. Before
Hmm.
class started, she already had breakout rooms set.
Oh, that's so cool.
So on Canvas, it shows my class and it shows the group I'm with the whole semester. So
Oh,
I already
okay.
have like gotten to know a few people
Nice.
in the group. So it's cool. It's very cool. I love it. That's why it's my favorite class. I'm like, oh, I get to talk in this class.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. What
Yeah, that's
about
the
you? Anything like that for you?
so in the in person, like I feel like if anything, like if you were to look at us in the crowd, you're like, man, these people are dying for contact because we just get in the room and we're like, we haven't seen each other anybody in 5 months, and so like the hallway is just full of conversation. We're still all like 6 feet away from
Oh
each other
yeah,
and we're like yelling with our masks on,
yeah.
because we're just like, oh, it's so good to see people and I could talk to you. And but then the other class, it's unfortunately not really a lot of interaction as far as like getting to talk to other students and having that moment. Folks do interact, like we'll type in the chat questions for the lecture, little reaction emojis and stuff like that. So folks are there. It's not quite an empty room feeling. But for the most part, it's mostly just kind of like going with the lecture and going through the
Mhm.
notes, which, like I said, there's a lot of information, so I get it why we don't take like a ton of time. But
Yeah.
um, I know it's like, man, I wish I could like talk to the group mates or just the classmates and stuff. So it's good to hear that you're getting some of that interaction because, like I feel like it's what a lot of folks are worried about not really getting, not so much like the interaction with the professor, but like that group setting rather than just like I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos and trying to learn something from it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping the first year students are getting that. I'm hoping they're able to like interact with their classmates somehow. With like the professors doing that for them. I'm hoping because that's the part when I
Yeah.
saw email, Chris, we're going online spring. I'm like, oh, that's not good. I just made me think. I
Yeah.
feel really worried about the first year students.
Well, I something I do know is the clubs. I think is a great way to probably fix that. And like I myself, it's something like I know, but I haven't really been doing a lot of it myself. Is probably trying to get involved with some of those clubs. Kind of a bunch of them are still operating virtually. Using like Discord and chats and stuff, so that you
Yeah.
might not be able to meet up with people, but it'd be a good way to, like, because I've been thinking like maybe I should try to get involved with more clubs because I couldn't before, mostly due to my schedule. Like I didn't have time to go to the meetings, and you don't want to like sign up and they'd be like, oh, I can't ever show up.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy,
Hmm.
and so like I think that's probably something I'm gonna have to start pursuing a bit more. Is just trying to do that and get connected with students. And I think if anyone's listening as well, that's a great way, especially right now, to still kind of maintain that social connection, that social networking, I guess,
Hmm.
to use the phrase.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah.
are are you in any clubs or any of that right now?
Not right now, but usually I'm involved with intramural sports with basketball. So I'm really bummed we're not able to do that
Yeah.
this year. That's the main one I do. Um, I was involved in another club, but
Hmm.
I wasn't able to make the meetings.
Gotcha.
But I would still receive the information through the email, so that was clutch.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, the main one, Chris, is the basketball one. That's the main one I'm usually in. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think I am in a club technically on paper, and that same like I get the emails,
yeah.
and shout out. Because I realize I don't even know the club. I can't do a shout out to them. But they've been great and still giving me the emails and haven't given me a hard time about it. But
Yeah.
have you been able to do any like I was gonna call it training, but like practice um, for like basketball? Like I know you're not able probably to do the games, but are they maybe doing like, hey, you can still come in and like use some facilities or whatnot?
So they're doing
Um,
a lot of virtual stuff.
okay.
They're doing a lot of video game tournaments like Madden, and they're doing I think NBA 2K right now. I think they're doing those
Okay.
two. If I'm correct. I just got the email today, but I'm blanking. I know it's Madden for sure is one of them.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
But As far as like just the general I know, and you probably know this too, but they're doing a lot of like virtual fitness stuff.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I follow them on Instagram, so that's
Oh,
why I kind of
nice.
see like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, as far as like the basketball part, I just play on my own. I went to a park earlier by my house to play. But yeah, nothing with intramural for this semester, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that's a bummer to hear. I know everyone like, if you're doing something that involves some physical activity, it's like a kind of a vary, like from like
Yeah.
the labs being once a week, and on paper it's a twice a week lab. So like,
Oh,
they kind of part it down, it's like things like labs are like kind of you're there. I think Valoy, who is a music major, I think he has like a couple things, like here and there. It's all very just like some stuff's there, some stuff's not. So I wasn't sure. I know being a kinesiology major, I didn't know if you're able to do that, or even just like, hey, we're going to do like distanced practice, but still everyone's kind of together, like if everyone is outside and still
yeah.
able to do I realize I don't know a lot of cool basketball basketball stuff, but still distancing, like you're not necessarily like trying to like block each other. My basketball terminology probably ends here, but yeah, I didn't know if they was able to do stuff like that, because that would be kind of cool, where you're still able to see like maybe like teammates and stuff, and
Yeah.
still get some physical activity on. But it's good to hear
Mhm.
that you're heading out to the park and hitting up the
Yeah.
hoops.
Yeah. That's cool.
So what would you I guess also being a kinesiology major, kind of along those lines, what would you suggest for like, I don't know, do you do like exercises or like some workouts or something like that?
Yeah.
I know we got Darm on our team. He's probably the real guy to talk to, get exercise on, but just kind of, what are some thoughts from a kinesiology major? Like, what are your maybe what are some things that you do to kind of stay active, especially nowadays? And then what would be some cool stuff that you suggest? Because I myself, I don't work out like crazy, but I'm always on, I'm always down to try out some new stuff.
Nice. Yeah. So what I like to do is I always like to change things up.
Okay.
The thing is for me, I realize I can get bored super quick if I'm doing, let's say, oh, okay, I'm curling this again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I notice is I like to change things up. I try to work out 5 days a week minimum, but now it doesn't mean I'm like hitting heavy weights 5 days
Yeah.
a week. It includes cardio. It includes, if I'm playing basketball, it includes weight. So it's like some
Pretty like a
capacity, right?
balanced kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Throw in some core work in there too. What I do, I just work out. I have some weights at home. I
Mhm.
have not been to a gym since March. I just don't trust it still.
I can
Um,
understand that. Yeah.
yeah, I actually just canceled my membership with CalFit, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do stuff at home, play it
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
But for home, I have a bike, a stationary bike. There you go.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I've been doing that a little bit for cardio since the air's been bad.
Yeah.
Um, Getting some cardio there. I have a jump rope, so I do some jump rope.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Nice.
I have a quick ladder. It's really cool for your footwork. Keeps your footwork
Okay.
quick. Helps with basketball too. But I have some weights. I have a few dumbbells I use here and there.
Nice.
I
What
have a pull-up
what
bar in
what
my.
weights dumbbells, out of curiosity? Sorry to
I
interrupt.
have so the highest I have are 45s.
Okay.
Nothing fancy, but hey, gets the
That's
job
you could
done.
do a lot with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have the lowest I have are fives, and then the highest is 45s.
Nice.
Yeah. I have a pull-up bar. Pull-up bar, hey man, that can be really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, super good.
Especially
I love
these days
pull-up.
with the extra pasta. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
And then I try to do a lot of push-ups, a lot of diamond push-ups,
Nice.
regular push-ups. Yeah. And the thing is, Chris, you don't even have to have much to get active. Like some days I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't feel like doing weights. I'm gonna do like some calisthenic
Just
workouts, some body,
yeah.
and that gets the job done. So yeah.
Nice, nice. So it's like, it sounds, I like that you changed up a bit every day. Like I know I'm kind of the same way, where I guess I do work out fairly often, but not like crazy. Like I don't do heavy weightlifting. It'll do like, I don't know, like 20 minutes or 30 minutes a day, just like a little
That's
bit.
yeah, that's
Um,
really good.
but yeah, I'm in the same way, where it's like I do have a couple dumbbells,
Mhm.
literally two. And they are, no, I guess I have three. So I have two 15s and then one, I think it's a 35.
Nice.
So yeah, like, and I kind of just do what I can with those. So obviously I'm not like going for crazy gains, but it's good. It keeps me active, and I like staying and changing it up. So like, that's why I was curious if like, if you had anything like, oh, like I like this workout, because I know I'm the same way with the dumbbells. You're like, man, this curl is not working for me. And then I've heard like that, like your muscles get bored too.
Yeah.
And so like I know I'm always trying to change things up. I have a bow actually out in the garage. I don't have any arrows for it,
I think
but
you told me that for a
yeah,
shoulder.
I think we were talking about that during the drive-through day. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'll grab that bow. Yeah, it's out in the garage, and I'll just do the drawback. And like I said, I don't have any arrows for it, so it's not like I'm putting anything in there. And of course, you don't let it go because that would damage the bow and stuff. But it's crazy, like you pull it back, and it's cool because it's almost a little meditative too, like working on your stance and trying to get it right. But yeah, you do that, and like the real thing is like you kind of feel silly. You're like, there's no arrow in this. I'm just holding this here, and I'm in my garage. I'm just like looking at like some stuff on the shelf. You're like, oh, like bottle of Pennzoil. I'm taking you down. Just kind of like looking at something. But then like the real thing is when you're holding it for like a good 10 minutes, and you're like, oh my god, okay. And then like I started walking back and forth. Like it's probably something you wouldn't do if you were really trying to shoot an arrow, but hey, I'm not doing that right now. So like, yeah, just doing that and walking with it, and you're like, oh my god, you start feeling your shoulders just kicking in. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like I miss running. I usually run.
Okay,
At
nice.
least 3 days a week, so I miss that. But what's cool, and it's going back to kines again. One of my kines classes, we have to create a fitness plan for the semester.
Oh, nice.
And you have to track it. So I'm like anxiously waiting to get back up there. So my goal is to run an 800 meter in 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and that's pretty fast. So
nice.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm hoping it's soon. I get to try it out and see what happens. But yeah, good old running, man. I love running. It's good. I used to run in high school. I did cross country for 2 years, and then I did track for 3 months before I quit.
Why'd you quit? You weren't digging it?
So I was pretty arrogant about the sport. My senior year, I did the 100 and 200. And I was like, you know what? I could do something. I'll do something harder. I signed up for the 400, Chris. Oh my gosh. You have to sprint the whole lap. Oh my gosh.
Ooh. Yeah, somebody who hasn't done a lot of running, especially since the COVID, everything. It's like, ooh, that sounds like a lot. But but that's pretty cool though. Like as far as like just doing that. But you weren't kind of feeling it at that time. You're like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good with these 100 and 200s.
Oh yeah, it humbled me real quick.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my god, sure. I know I'd be tore up doing that. So I presume you haven't been running because like the whole smoke quality and the air. Yeah.
I've been playing some basketball, but it's not like I'm running around. It's just like shooting. That's about it.
Still keep up the reps, if you will.
Yeah. And that's something I want to do is be a skills trainer for basketball. I used to be a coach in high school for 3 years.
Oh, nice.
So I kind of want to keep that going. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to keep something going.
Day after,
But as far as cardio, I've been replacing that with like the stationary bike in my house. So
no, I mean it's great that you have that, especially like so with the air quality. So you're like, oh, I can have that on. I presume it's like in the air conditioned spot versus like a garage or whatnot. So it's like, oh yeah, I can just get that going, be nice and comfy. Forget there's smoke outside for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So when you go running, are you like a street runner? I know up in Folsom, there's depending on where you are, there's like potentially some trails and stuff. So what do you usually do for running, or do you do like
literally just run around the neighborhood?
Cool. No, that's cool. Yeah, and I'm fine with either. Just kind of curious.
Yeah, and it's good. But the track at Folsom Lake College by my house is closed due to COVID. Yeah. Like they literally blocked off that whole parking lot.
Oh wow.
So I was like, man, because it feels better running there. Like running on concrete is harder on your knees and your joints. So I'm like, you know what? I'll still do it. And it's bad, but it's like, I'll do it.
It's better than not running at all. It's kind of
But the track, I love running on a track because the surface is way better. And it's more fun for me, even though the scenery is like, okay, you're just running in like.
Hey, Folsom Lake College, for those who don't know, is like, I always say it's built on a mountain.
Oh yeah.
So like, I presume it's been a little while since I was on the campus, but I presume the views from the track are pretty good. I know by the chemistry department, it was amazing. Like that was kind of one of my favorite parts was
Yeah.
during breaks in lab, you'd get out and you're like, oh man, I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah. Have you been to the Roofs at FLC? The
Was
cafeteria?
that like yeah.
So if you walk in, Chris, and you go
Mhm.
towards the back, very back, you see like Folsom Lake, like I believe on the left. And
Okay.
then it's like all these mansion houses up towards there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
So it's
about right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a really nice
Yeah.
campus. I've never been to ARC though. I've driven by it, but I've never been on campus.
It's compared to Folsom Lake College, it's one of those it's got heart. That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
It's not as it's a little dirty as far as like just like the campus itself. The classes are great. Like professors are great. You know, it's I don't mean to give it a bad name, but I definitely when you drive out to FLC for a class, you're like, oh, everything's really nice and all that. But it's pretty cool. There's like a creek, I think it's Arcade Creek or whatnot, but it runs similar to how American River does. It's very fun. It's like the community college version of the river is like this little creek, but
Yeah.
no, it runs alongside the campus, so there is like a trail right there. It doesn't go super far, but it was kind of cool. You know, if you have some time before class or afterwards, just you're like, oh, I don't want to be like in the cafeteria or whatnot, kind of do that little walkabout. But it was a cool campus. I liked it because it's, you know, it's close to my house, so it was nice and
Yeah.
15-minute drive, which is
Nice. Nice.
always a nice drive time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Um so so yeah, so you just do like running around the streets and stuff like that.
So it's yeah, pretty
Which
cool.
I realize makes it sound worse than it is, like you're just crazy man running around, but
It is pretty much like that.
yeah.
It's more of so I run. So if you're at my house, I run sidewalk, cross the street, sidewalk, sidewalk, cross the sidewalk, and then it's I'm not really dealing with traffic or
Mhm.
cars per se.
Yeah.
There is a few neighborhoods where I'm like, okay, I got to stop, pay attention.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice because it's like I just follow the same kind of route usually.
Gotcha.
Usually I try to be good. If people are on the sidewalk, I try to cut lower onto. I kind of,
Yeah,
I
try
kind
to
of risk
keep a
it
little
sometimes to
distance.
go in the bike lane. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if there's a group of people, I'm like, I'm gonna go here and then cut back in.
Yeah.
So I'm usually pretty cautious about that. But it's usually good. It's usually good. Morning runs are nice
Yeah.
especially in the summer and it's like 50s, early 60s.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Feels
was about to ask you that is when you usually like to go out
yeah.
and I guess run, but are you ever just exercise? Like
Mhm.
it sounds like yeah, I know I don't do the morning runs. I have a dog who I don't think she's in the room right now, but we go out on like night walks and like I can know that feeling where it's like, especially these or God, when it was like 100 something degrees out and you go out at night and you're like, ooh, I'll take this. This is
Yeah.
nice weather right now.
Hmm.
Um what time so you always a morning type of workout person or
It really depends, Chris.
gotcha.
I try to because I know the garage, like at my house, it gets super hot
Yeah.
quickly. So I usually try in the morning. Here and there, I usually do afternoon, but I usually shoot for morning. And what I
Gotcha.
mean by morning is if it's weights, it's usually around 10:30 at the latest.
Okay.
And that's in the summer. Winter,
Yeah.
obviously, it's nice because it's like, oh, I can go whenever.
Yeah, as you get easier temperature. Yeah. I mean sometimes it's too cold though, and you're like, oh, I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's a little
Oh
little
yeah.
rough out there.
But for running, and I did this before training a few days for orientation, I try to run in the morning
Mhm.
because at the afternoon it's like 110 at 4:30 p.m. I'm like,
Yeah, it's a little brutal outside.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, I know myself these days I've definitely been trying to work out in the morning, partially just to keeps up a good routine and it's something to do, right off the bat, wake
Oh,
up,
yeah.
go out there, hit the weights a little bit.
Mhm.
But I also take the dog out at night and we do about I think it's about a good mile. Kind of like you're mentioning, I have like a loop like in my neighborhood, I'll go around and stuff.
Yeah,
Um
and the thing is, Chris, I honestly don't know the distance for running I'm doing. I just know I'm like, if I'm pretty gassed and winded, then that must mean it's a good workout.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of measuring it. Like I know like I think I looked it up on Google Maps one time. You're like, oh, from here to this spot is about this distance, and I kind of just like eyeball it, and you're like, yeah, I'm having a good time. I'm really half of it's just to get the dog out.
Mhm.
So
Right.
kind of like that. I'm like, well, if we get back and she looks gassed, and then I probably did a good job.
Mhm. You know, I think the great thing is, and Darm can relate to this,
Hmm.
'cause I know Darm works out in the mornings. It's a great feeling. At first, you're like thinking, "Oh, I just want to be back in bed,"
Yeah.
but waking up like and then just getting it over with, and then it's like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much energy."
Yeah.
So I wish I did that more before orientation because I feel like I'd be more alert. Um, but man, it's a great feeling because it's like, okay, I'm gonna start the day off right with some exercise, jump into the job.
Yeah. No, I think I was honestly a little bit better about that during orientation. I think because, we had to be up at 8 versus
Yeah,
like, oh, I can kind of trickle my way into the 9 o'clock class. So I
yeah,
was I think I was getting up around 6 and stuff. But I know during the normal semester, like the in person, I would be getting up at 5, getting to campus real early, and I'd actually hike the river. And so I'd usually like, I kind of had like the same thing, like, I know from here to about like that boat launch spot is a mile, like,
yeah.
and that felt great, going out there and doing a couple miles. And sometimes you see deer and rabbit and stuff like that,
Oh,
and you're like,
nice.
yeah, because it'd be real early, and you're like, oh, this is pretty rad. You have like your coffee with you, and you just, like, what's up, deer? Um,
Yeah,
so, and yeah, you come back and have this great feeling, and like I'd be coming back right when everyone was trickling on a campus, and it's like, I've heard this described too, where it's like, oh, waking up early is like being in on a secret
yeah,
that you're
it
like, dude,
really is.
nobody else knows about this right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing I really want to do more this semester
Hmm.
is get up earlier. I always say that, but it's always like I hit the snooze on my alarm.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's really great. I like to, and here's another thing I'll add. For an exam, I always
Hmm.
like to. I don't like staying up too late to study.
Same. Yeah.
I don't do well cramming. I do not do well cramming. Um, I always tell students this in orientation. I do best when I do it like a few days before, even a week before,
Hmm.
because it gives me a lot of time to kind of um, get the material to absorb.
Yeah. Kind of let it sink in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for exam day, let's say I have an exam at like 8:30. I'm up
Hmm.
by like 5:45 reviewing it, and then I feel like okay,
Nice.
I'm ready to go. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that was me, definitely on exam days. Like, sometimes I would, sometimes I'd do the walk on the day of the exam, but I'd be like, let's just take that time and go up to the science complex with the Shannon Science. I always call it the TSC, but
yeah,
sorry, Ernest Shannon, if you hear this, love you. Thank you for the new building,
yeah,
but yeah, I'd always go to the new building, and it's got like these really cool study rooms. I'm sure you've been in there, and I know it's really bad, unfortunate that students can't go there, but
mhm,
I'd go up to the 5th floor and be like this really cool sort of like study area where you could watch it, and you get there before the sun rises. Like, I think the building opened up at 6, and I'd just be waiting for that light to turn green and be like, all right, let's go up there. And yeah, it was like kind of the same thing. Like, I'm gonna get up real early, go over the material. Like, I'd already been studying, but that
yeah.
was like my, like, okay, let me just get warmed up, like get in the zone. I'd be there before the professors got there, so he'd be walking his office and he'd see me and he's like, oh my god, Chris is looking ready. But no, I can agree with that. It was great doing that. As far as the studying too,
Yeah.
I always say, treat it like you'd expect like a professional athlete or like a boxer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if you're going into this major fight, hopefully you're not working out like the night prior and going hardcore, because you don't want to show up all tired.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I would definitely tell all my students back in tutoring, because they, like, hey Chris, my plan is I'm gonna stay up all night, and the irony is I have a bunch of coffee and I'm probably gonna stay up really late working on homework, but I don't have an exam tomorrow, so it's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, they'd be like, oh Chris, I have this plan, I'm gonna here's how I'm gonna stay up all night. I'm gonna work on all this. I'm gonna cram this in. And I'd be like, yeah, you should probably skip that and just get some rest.
Wow.
Because I don't know about you, but I've fallen asleep during an exam before,
Oh,
like
really?
momentarily. But that was you can kind of, it was like a chemistry exam, and I think it was like I closed my eyes to think about a math problem real quick, and it was probably for like half a minute. You know what I mean? But just kind of, it was enough to make me go, I really need to sleep before exams. This can
Oh, yeah.
never happen again, and I did terrible in the exam.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. Like cramming does not work for me, especially at the expense of rest. Like definitely if you've been studying, it's always good to look over the material rather than like, I don't know, look at your phone or whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I am not a crammer. That doesn't work with the Chris MO.
Yeah, same.
Um, so I guess moving on to studying, I guess moving away from working out and stuff, which to me, I kind of blend them together because
Mhm.
like one's like you're working on your body, the one's working on your mind, not to get
Yeah.
too philosophical,
Yeah.
but how do you like to study for classes, especially these days where like we're all virtual? So I know
Great.
I had to change up my study habits and stuff. So
So I will show you what I did recently because it's right here. So I printed out the PowerPoint slides for my
nice,
class.
nice.
So my professor, one of them, talks super, super fast. I'm barely getting
Okay.
anything down.
Yeah.
Usually, Chris, what I do for that one, this is just this one class. I usually just write it in the notebook and stuff, but I'm thinking, wait a minute, it's on Canvas. What I should print it out. So what it's nice is I take notes as she's going along. So like
Nice.
right here, if you can kind of see something I've written down.
Kind of. So for those of you not watching, he is holding up a packet of printed
Yeah.
out notes. But no, I can kind of see it. So like, do you you try to still do like some handwritten notes? Is that kind of
Mhm.
yeah?
I do
Nice.
better handwritten notes than typing. I don't comprehend anything if I type it.
Like, unless I'm hardcore typing it, like like the Bart Simpson, I will not
Yeah.
whatever it said, like wrote over and over. I'm with you on that. I really had to like write stuff down if I'm really gonna remember it later on. Um, yeah, like I don't think I have it with me right now, but
Yeah.
I definitely been printing out a lot of my like notes and like my homework assignments, and I was like, I'm gonna be going through a lot of paper, but I need to get them done. So yeah, I've definitely been printing out.
And another thing, you probably know this too. I was in a PAL class for Bio 131.
Okay.
Um, my tutor for PAL recommended taking notes in different colored pens,
Mm,
and it actually makes so much. It helps me a lot. It like for me, it's way easier to retain compared if I'm like
gotcha.
writing everything in blue pen, black pen.
Yeah, like a
I
monocolor.
do like every slide. I do it like blue ink. The next one I do like red ink, and then any notes I'll like highlight and stuff. So it actually is really helpful. Um,
Nice. Are they like the cool gel pens, like from back in the day?
it's like the paper mate.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah,
No, I've had a lot of folks who have done them like using different colors,
yeah.
whether it's like a highlighter or just like you said, just literally using different colored inks. And it like definitely makes the I always say makes the notes a lot more entertaining to look at. Um,
Mhm.
it hasn't worked for me as much. My notes always look like they're from like the 30s. That's my joke. They're all in just purely black and white, like black ink, white paper. Let's do this. But I know that a lot of folks have found that really useful, especially for going over, like you're saying, some like really technical information like
Oh
biology or
yeah.
chemistry, where we have like all these concepts. And it's like, hey, I need to, it's a great way to mentally organize them.
Yeah, because I'm in this class where it's all about heart rate.
Okay.
So arrhythmia, tachycardia, bradycardia, and I'm like, this is a
Gotcha.
lot of information. So right now, Chris, what I'm doing is I have to identify a person's heart rate. So I
Hmm.
have to know the diastolic, systolic pressure, what it
Okay.
is. Is it a good heart rate? Are they in danger? Do they need to
Yeah.
stay up position? So I'm like, okay, this is a class. That's the class I usually write different color ink. So I'm like, okay, this will help me for giving an exam.
Yeah, I think that was actually the one exception was back when I was taking anatomy and physiology too, which I don't know the course numbering here at Sacramento State. I took it over at American River, but yeah, when I was doing the cardiovascular system, that was my one exception. Was like, okay, I'm gonna write everything having to do with the outflow, like
Yeah.
anything that's artery. I'm already forgetting the terms. Like the artery base is gonna go in red ink. Everything that's
Oh, yeah.
veins is going in blue ink. That was my one exception because it
Oh,
just
yeah.
made so much more sense.
Anatomy's a great I honestly do recommend people taking that class because you're just learning about like the body and how it functions. Like it's super interesting. It's just a lot of material.
Do they have a and maybe you might know this better about Sacramento State. Do they have a non-majors version for it? Because I know the majors one can even be impacted, so it can be
Yeah.
hard to take if you're just trying to like take it for enrichment or a good time. Um,
I
is there like a like a I don't want to say watered down, but yeah, like a non-majors version that's not as intensive, not as impacted, but still really good information for folks to know.
Yeah, I think if I'm correct, there's a class. It's more for the physical education folks.
Okay.
For Denise, that is less difficult compared to like the bio 25 and 20.
Yeah.
I'm
Like you're
pretty
not
sure.
going into the full career, so you don't need the whole 9 yards. But hey, here's some good stuff to know for just being a person, because just
I
like,
think Chris, I don't know the name of it, but I think it's a course.
but it does exist.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. I'm
So
pretty.
if anyone's listening to this and they happen to know the course code, feel free to reach out to the Stingers Up podcast. No, I'm with you on that, because it's kind of like, it's like knowing a little bit about your car to do some quick repairs. Because
Yeah.
even if you don't have a car, which I get, especially these days, we all have a body, and unless there's robots listening to this, so it's good to know, just like, like what does it mean by, like, what is a good heart rate, what is, what's good nutrition. I know that's another one that's, not quite anatomy and physiology's boat, but what does it mean to eat quote unquote good or well or whatnot.
Yeah. And what's really cool, and I'm sorry bringing up Kines again, but
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm in this course it's basically sports nutrition.
Uh-huh.
So it's knowing like what an athlete should eat before like they perform in their given sport. It's really interesting.
That is cool.
So I'm learning about like additive sugars, essential nutrients, all that stuff, like what not to eat. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should put down the mashed potatoes a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Those mashed potatoes are hard to put down. No, I know what you're saying, though. I remember taking, I think it's Nutrition 10 here.
Yeah, I took that.
So for everyone listening, I apologize if I get course numbers wrong. I took a lot of courses at the community college, which are different numbered. But I took the nutrition course, and like, man, that changed a lot of how I looked at just eating. And, I'm not like the best example of how to eat well, but it definitely made me a lot more conscious of things of like, oh, how much sugar is really in this? Or kind of like you were saying, like, maybe I really shouldn't eat the Taco Bell, which I guess isn't a surprise, but or like, hey, this food or that food or whatnot. So that's cool. So now you're like looking at it with more like with like a focus on like performance and like a sports level. You know what I mean?
So, and that's, and people ask me this all the time, like, Austin, what do you want to do after you graduate? And I'm like, I'm stuck on 3 things, but I want to do 3 things at the same time. I know it's crazy, ridiculous. So I want to be a career counselor, probably at a junior college, sports performance trainer, and then a basketball skills trainer. So, what I like to do, Chris, I like to keep everything based on what I want to be passionate about, because then it's like you feel like you're not working.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just like you said, if you're really into it, like, why not do that?
Exactly.
It'd be crazy not to.
Yeah. Someday the dream for me is I want to have my own business for a gym.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That's what I really want to do down the line. So I want to take a business class in the spring just for fun.
Yeah.
I only have 2 classes left I need for the major. I was like, okay, maybe I could take a business class for fun.
No, especially if you're in that sort of like, hey, I need the units. If you're in that, like that sort of pay, I know, like the tuition bracket. I know I've been there where you're like, well, I'm full time, no matter how you cut it. Might as well take something just to make the schedule a little more fun, a little more exciting. I was gonna say lighten up the schedule, but it's not true. You're adding more units. But you know what I mean? Kind of like, oh, a little something to look forward to in the day. That's a good change. Nice.
Are you thinking of getting another degree after your bachelor's?
So as far as like kind of moving forward with chemistry and whatnot, so my intention is to go to grad school. Admittedly, I've been pretty slacking on like looking into different grad schools. I know like everything kind of happening in March really threw off my focus. But no, my overall plan is to go to grad school. As far as what I want to do with my career, with my education, is I would right now I'm kind of looking at going into just coming back and being a professor, going into education.
That'd be cool.
I know working as a tutor for, I think it was like 5 years. This is actually like the first like semester where I haven't done tutoring. So it's been interesting, but, that being said, I think I'm still going to do tutoring a couple weeks here. But no, just kind of doing that for, as long as I have, it's like, I developed a real passion for helping folks. And that's something I know, like I brought to orientation, but it was really cool working with somebody and kind of getting that moment where it's like, I call it the aha moment, where it's like, you almost can see the cartoon light bulb go off above their head. And they're like, I get it. I know what you're talking about. And you're like, nice.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, go take that exam, go get them, Tiger.
Yeah.
but it was really cool. It was a very satisfied feeling at the end of the day. You're like, oh, my classes are terrible, but hey, I helped so and so, and especially when they come back and like, oh my god, like that exam was awesome, and they bring in, like, I've had students bring in food, or like bring in like gift baskets, and like, hey, like we'll be meeting up for some tutoring session, and I'm like, oh, good luck on your final, and they're like, oh wait, one thing, and like they'll pull out like a basket of candy, and I'm like, oh my god, and of course, you accept it because it's just candy, but
Yeah.
but no, it's really, it's incredibly, I guess, flattering. I feel like I'm it's not
Mhm.
the right word I'm going for, but it's an amazing feeling, definitely, kind
Oh
of
yeah.
helping those folks
100%.
out. And I'm sure kind of like the same thing of like, if someone were to get somebody on their feet physically,
Yeah.
or so would you be kind of helping folks if they was like a physical therapist type deal where
I
people.
was interested in that, Chris, when I came into Sac State. Two things about that. So, one, it's extremely competitive.
Oh,
You need
okay,
it's like nursing now. It's
gotcha.
low key like nursing. So it's like
Mhm.
3.8 average everywhere.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too is I shadowed at a clinic place, and I was
Mhm.
just like, this isn't for me. So that's why I encourage students to shadow whenever they can, just to see what's out there.
Okay,
Um,
nice.
and I was like, you know what? This wasn't what I wanted to do. After I did orientation, I was like, I love helping students. This is so much fun.
Yeah,
And that's what counseling kind of sparked in my mind. I was like, oh, I could be a counselor or something.
yeah.
Um, and with that, and then I was like, I want to work with athletes. That's always been the dream for me. So if I could do both
Kind of mix it
somehow,
together, blend it. Yeah. Hey, why not? Yeah.
why not? So that's the thing. I've always my main goal was like, oh, I want to help people when I'm
Mhm.
older or when I'm done. But it's like, in what fields? That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I like this, but I like that, but I also like that.
Yeah.
Maybe combine it together and see what happens.
Yeah. No, and there might be a way to kind of do that, like a general consultancy or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, that's a cool goal. Like I said, I can definitely understand the feeling of you're like, well, I really like science. I like helping people.
Hmm.
I like working.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
For
So
me,
that's
it's always like expanding on your potential. If you feel like you
that
can
too.
do something like that, why not do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My fear, Chris, going into physical therapy, and this is not like a bash towards physical therapy
Yeah.
at
No,
all,
definitely. Yeah.
but I feel like if I did physical therapy, I'd be stuck doing that. And
Mm,
if I wasn't passionate about it, I'd be like, it would be a waste of time for me. That's how
yeah.
I viewed it.
Yeah.
If I could help people in like a variety of ways, it's a win on my part, because it's like, oh, I'm making an impact on someone's life. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's the best feeling, knowing I made an impact on someone's life. So
Definitely, definitely. No, and I can understand that. We're looking at it, you're like, oh man, I'm sure it'd be a great job. And yeah, like you said, nothing against anyone who's going in
yeah,
physical therapy or is a
yeah,
physical therapist right now, but you personally felt it would limit like yourself and kind of where you would go with that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So
Nice, nice. Well, Austin, I know we're kind of coming up on about an hour or so.
mhm.
Um, are there any concluding thoughts that you'd like to throw out for the folks listening at home or on their mobile devices?
I would just say anyone in college right now, or high school, whoever's
Hmm.
listening, just continue to stay focused, stay on the grind. I'll give this example too. For me, it's like, I know I'm not a science person, which is
Hmm.
interesting to think like, oh, why are you in kinesiology? It's the end result. That's always been my motivation.
Yeah.
Um, Highly recommend watching motivational videos. Those help. For me, it helps.
Hmm.
Um, Meditate helps a lot.
Nice,
And
nice.
then I like to read books. So a lot of that is focusing on, okay, I'm getting physically active,
Hmm.
right, with exercising, but I got to work on this more. I got to get mentally active too. Improving mental health is so important, especially during these times.
Yes.
That's I would
Yes.
say the biggest close off I would say on this podcast is just stay focused, stay positive, and then stay healthy. I think that's the three things I would leave on
Yeah,
that.
no, and I can definitely agree with you, especially with the keeping your mind healthy as well. Like I know we talked a lot about working out and different stuff, and kind of being a kinesiology major, I was excited to talk about that with you,
Yeah.
get your thoughts and views on it.
Yeah.
Why not talk about what you're excited about? But yeah, no, I'm definitely keeping that brain healthy, both by your intake and just intake of both food and just what you read and what you do. Like I know in case it doesn't become a video, I have a little stack of books even just right here. Like I know I've been trying to read a whole lot and just keep myself engaged, keep myself healthy.
Yeah. I have a few books I recommend if you want me to throw them out there.
Yeah, no, I in fact, like since you mentioned reading, I'm like, oh no, I don't know if we're gonna be able to conclude this. Like I'm resisting talking about books,
Yeah.
but no, yeah, throw them out there. Yeah.
The Lemonade Life, best
Okay.
book I've ever read, hands down. It makes you view life way
Okay.
differently than before. So the Lemonade Life. Another book you might have heard of it is Not Giving an F. Something I'm blanking on the title. I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but Not Giving an F. I'm blanking on that.
I'll look it up later. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another book, and then another book I recommend is called The Five Agreements.
Okay.
Yeah. So those three have been the best books I've read so far.
Yeah, I admittedly have not heard of either any of those, but I will definitely look them up. That's cool. Are they like fiction or nonfiction? Just out of curiosity.
They're more of applying your goals and dreams. It's a lot of realistic knowledge, like application, if that makes sense.
Nice. No, that's,
Like
that's cool. Yeah.
you learn certain stuff, and then it's like, how do you apply that to like your life?
Awesome.
So that part's very, very cool. So very, very good books, Chris. Highly recommend it.
Nice. No, I'll definitely check them out. Hopefully if anyone's listening, they will also check them out.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to think, do I have any recommendations? I know a book that I've really been getting into, and I kind of been taking it a chapter at a time. I feel like it's one of those, like, read a chapter, sit there, kind of digest it. Kind of like these ones. It's not necessarily like a story or anything, but it's like Extreme Ownership, which is by was it Jocko Willink, and he's got a buddy, I can't remember his name, but yeah, no, it's kind of along those same lines. Like admittedly, Jocko is a Navy SEAL, so like a lot of it's written in sort of like a military war setting where he's applying his own experiences, but it's with the focus on like leadership and making yourself a better person. So like that's something that I really like about it. Like it is a war book, and I want to know and be like, hey, you didn't tell me that. But it has the primary focus isn't like, hey, look at this battle or whatever. But it's
Extreme Ownership, you said?
Yes, Extreme Ownership. Yeah. Yeah, maybe when I post this, I'm sure I'll write in some books that we mentioned since we're mentioning books. I'd say that's a great one right now. And I don't want to go on too far with books. I think I have like 300. I just counted them the other day. But I love reading. But no, I'd say I'll throw that on to the book recommendations. Yeah.
Another book I'll show you real quick here. I'm almost done with this book. It's called Shoe Dog, Phil Knight, the creator of Nike.
Okay.
So that's like a business book. It's interesting. It's really interesting how he founded or created Nike. So really cool.
Sweet. Yeah, no, yeah, I'll have to stop myself because I feel like we could go on about book recommendations. Yeah. We'll have to bring it back and do a different book episode. Yeah. But yeah, I'll definitely go on with the notion of folks, at home, keep your body healthy rather. Keep your mind healthy. Keep them both, keep applying yourself, even if you're stuck at home. Mm-hmm. Don't let it feel like you're stuck at home. Like I can understand that. A lot of times I feel like I'm just going from my room to the garage and back and forth and stuff. So yeah, keep yourself going. And my add-on, my concluding thought would also just be kind of like I mentioned, get involved. If you can, get involved with like a club or whatnot. Get in touch with other students. Kind of keep that social aspect going. And then if you can, do some tutoring, do something, and just help out the community. Give a little back. Per se, be a tutor, be a peer mentor, be a something. There's a whole list of them. I don't want to limit it, but if you have an opportunity, you can be an orientation leader. More information on that in the future, but I highly recommend it, especially these days. Get involved. I can't even put a price on just the satisfaction of helping other folks at the end of the day.
100%.
So awesome. That was a great conversation, Austin. Great session. And
thank you very much for having me.
Of course. And as I mentioned before, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
So that will conclude the first episode of the StingersUp podcast. And to everyone listening, I hope y'all have either a good day or a good night, depending on when you're listening. And enjoy yourself. And of course, Stingers up.
I'd love to be on again. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds good. We will definitely have to get you back on.